Chandrayaan-3, we are into the last few days of countdown, and we are about to land on 23rd of August. It's a very momentous occasion for India, and also a very big milestone in terms of space exploration. So the spacecraft is in the lunar orbit, and we hear from ISRO that is being lowered down to the altitude from which it will be going to be landing. So the deboosting operations have been successful so far, and we look forward to the final operations of landing on 23rd evening. The soft landing of Luna-25, the Russian mission, it took a different route to Moon, and we heard from the Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, that it ventured into the lunar orbit. But what we heard after that was that they lost contact with the spacecraft, and they are reporting that probably the spacecraft has crash landed on the Moon. So it's, as from the report, we gathered that there were some maneuvers which they have to do. They could not carry out satisfactorily, and post that maneuver, there were no signal from the spacecraft, and they lost it. And they have started an investigation to find out the reasons for this crash, and we are looking forward to more information on this tragic incident. We all know that the Russian Space Agency had a very big credential regarding space exploration 50 years ago, and they attempted this after about 50 years, and we hope that they still continue to have the knowledge, the capacity, and the experience, and they will be able to solve it and go ahead with their Luna-26 and 27 missions as planned.
शनिवार से ये आउट ऑफ टच या कम्युनिकेशन में नहीं थे. उनके ऑर्बिटिंग मैनूवर्स में कुछ खामियां थी, और इसलिए वो बीच में ये भी जा रहा था, ये भी बात हो रही थी कि एक तरह की कंपटीशन है हमारे चंद्रयान और लूना में. ये सही बात नहीं है. वो पायनियर्स हैं, और फिर उन्होंने 21 अगस्त को इसे बढ़ा दिया लैंडिंग टाइम, और अभी तो ये एक मेरे ख्याल में रॉसकॉस्मोस के लिए दुखद की बात है. और दूसरी बात ये है, हाँ, हम साउथ पोल में पहला देश होंगे जो वहाँ पर लैंड करेंगे, लेकिन ये बात भी है कि रूस ने हमें पहले सहायता भी किया था, क्रायोजेनिक इंजन भी दिए थे, तो खराब तो लगता है. लेकिन हाँ, ये सबसे बड़ी बात इसमें जो लेसन हमें है, जो हमने सीखना है, कि कुछ भी छोटा सा भी अगर खामी आ जाए स्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन में, ये एक बड़ा डिज़ास्टर हो सकता है, और यही हुआ है. तो हमें एकदम कोई भी चुनौती के सामना करने के लिए रेडी होना चाहिए, तैयार होना चाहिए.
Because last time we could not achieve, because we till this phase we did very well last time also, but the landing portion only we could not achieve properly. So definitely that's what this time it's a very anxious moment. Everybody is working, looking it very anxiously for this event to happen. And I am sure that this time it will be a grand success.
But when it comes to the event, sir, the whole nation is watching it. After the Russia's mission failure, do you think it's a very tough moment for ISRO to look after the things very curiously, sir?
Not only now, that is, we have been telling from the beginning, it is a landing is a very, very complex process. So even now also we are telling that the landing is a complex process. So, but nothing to do with the Russians' lander failure. But we have our own system, and we will be establishing a soft landing without any problem with our system. So, but it is a complex process.
Sir, please look at me, sir. As far as this Chandrayaan-3 is concerned, sir, there were many things that changed from Chandrayaan-2. There were many technology and many scientific things needed to be changed. Those are changed. Do you think that will make difference in soft landing this time, sir?
So definitely, because last time when after the landing the process, we have gone through the data what we generated in that on flight. So based on that, corrective measures have been taken, and also that is not only that one, we did something more than what we corrected. And wherever that margins are less, we enhance that margins. And at the same time, that when that sensors are not functioning, and wherever the possible appropriate redundancy is put it. So that way, this time the system is, because based on the lessons we learned from Chandrayaan-2. So this time the system is going with more ruggedness, and so we are expecting this time it will be a success.
When it comes to soft landing, sir, that is the biggest task for the space agencies to reach there. Soft landing concerns, sir, do you think after the space aircraft separated from the Vikram lander is very much capable to handle the pressure at this part of time, sir?
Yes, because that the propulsion module is our aim is to take the Vikram to the particular destination. That it did. After that, we need to separate out, because the lander has to do the function on its own, and the lander is having all the system to do the function. So that way, the separation is essential, and that's what we did it. And it is done successfully. Now we are looking for the landing by the lander without any problem.
Sir, can you give us some detail about what all the changes made in the Vikram lander for the soft landing at this time, sir?
So as I said that first there are three parts. First, that whatever the observations had in that Chandrayaan-2 mission, that has to be corrected. So there are some problems in that the thrusters. There are some problems in the guidance system and the control system. All these corrections in all these three systems have been incorporated without any. It has been incorporated, and now. Not only that one, and in case of that landing to be happen in a slightly higher velocity, lander legs are strengthened, and also that is wherever possible, that is a redundancy is incorporated in the sensor side, so that even if some system fail, that there is an alternative route it will take, so that the landing will happen without any problem.
So this time the distance, even the distance goes up, the landing will be softer, sir.
Yes, we are expecting this time this soft landing will be happening without any problem.
So the whole world, including NASA and many other agencies, are looking at this Chandrayaan-3, because ISRO made several changes in this. And when it comes to slight changes, sir, those slight changes, do you think will lead ISRO to the success of Chandrayaan-3, sir?
Definitely, because the error means it is a silly. Always that errors means the silly errors only will be there. So that all those things be corrected. So when errors are corrected, to our knowledge, to the best of our knowledge, we corrected all the errors whatever we have seen. So definitely this will lead to success.
Sir, you also had some kind of a talks with Russia also, but their lander could not make that landing this time. It was crashed. What do you think become the reason for that that incident, sir?
So I also read through that news items only about the crashing of the Russian lander. Apart from that, I don't have any other technical details. This one. So probably that is I am not aware of that further technical details. Whatever available in the public domain only, I also learned.
So keeping control on the lander and keeping control on the Vikram-3 this time will be a biggest challenge. Is ISRO handling it every second and moment, sir?
Yes. We are continuously monitoring and calibrating the system, and the system's health are perfectly normal. And this time we don't have any problem. That's what I feel. So this one.
Some pictures which came, sir, which is actually increasing the enthusiasm of Indians. Some pictures which Vikram lander sent us. Now we are reaching very close. That closeness will be possible this time to make that we can take some more photos on the ground in the Chandra, sir.
Yes, definitely that it will take some more photos. This one. So that definitely enthusiasm is increasing by seeing this photo, the images. So definitely that enthusiasm will automatically increase, and we will wait for the 23rd to see the success.
Any talks are going on, sir? Because when you are saying wait for the success, how much confident you are, sir?
So it is not only for this mission. Every mission we are launching, we will launch with the confidence only. And we never launch anything without any confidence. This one, we are always launching with the confidence only. Only thing is, suppose something happened in the flight, which is not Chandrayaan-2 also, we have gone ahead with the full confidence only. Now also we are going ahead with the full confidence only.
When Chandrayaan-2 happened, sir, it was an emotional moment as Prime Minister was also here. This time also the Prime Minister is watching very keenly. So how confident you are that we will give you successful result this time, sir?
That's what I am telling is that we have whatever that based on the lessons we learned from that Chandrayaan-2. So that is we have done some extra this one also. That's what we are telling, that we are confident that this time it will be success.
Those extra additions, sir, is it an Indian made in? We have that Make in India concept. Indian
Genius efforts. This one.
Is there any other space agencies who are trying to contact you to take up the update on this, sir?
That I am not knowing, because that probably you have to ask the chairman ISRO, and I don't have any such information with me. So probably you have to ask chairman ISRO for this particular thing.
So that Wednesday, which the event we are expecting, sir, those glitches last time which happened, last time we could not have the control on it. This time, sir?
That's what I'm repeatedly telling. That is, we have done the correction and corrective actions to whatever problem. So definitely that whatever problem happened, actions have been taken. This one.
Sir, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Chandra, how excited moment at this point of time is, sir?
டெஃபினெட்லி இதுவரைக்கும் நம்ம ரொம்ப சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல்லாக சந்திரன் கிட்ட போயாச்சு. இனி உள்ளது லாஸ்ட் லெக். அப்போ கடைசி கட்டமாக தான் நம்ம இனி இது லேண்ட் ஆக போறது. அது இதுவரைக்கும் சக்சஸ்ஃபுல்லாக போயிருக்கிறோம். அண்ட் இந்த சந்திரன் கூட எக்ஸ்ட்ரா மார்ஜின் கூட ஆட் பண்ணிருக்கிறோம். அதனால இந்த தடவை நல்லா சக்சஸ்ஃபுல்லாக போகும்.
Soft landing a main question, sir. In the time of the soft landing, nama successful nadukuma, sir.
We are hoping that it will be successful, because we did whatever humanly possible. Ella correct.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus
Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft.
P2 tracking.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का। यह भीम का रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है। LVM-3 के उत्थापन के साथ ही हमारे अंतरिक्ष यान चंद्रयान-3 की चंद्रमा की यात्रा प्रारंभ हो चुकी है।
As the rocket is soaring through the clear skies, every second moving closer to the
एक विशेषता है कि इसे न केवल हिंदुस्तान बड़ी उत्सुकता के साथ देख रहा है, बल्कि सारे दुनिया की निगाहें इसके ऊपर है, क्योंकि जो चंद्रयान-3 जो इनके द्वारा हमें इनपुट्स उपलब्ध होती रही हैं, वो दूसरे के देश, दुनिया के दूसरे देश, भले ही वो तत्कालीन सोवियत यूनियन रहा हो, चाहे वो अमेरिका हो, उनके मिशन भी उपलब्ध नहीं करवा पाए। उदाहरण के तौर पर चंद्रयान, हालांकि अमेरिका का एक मानव चांद की धरती पर 1969 में लैंड हो चुका था, उनका एक व्यक्ति नील आर्मस्ट्रांग, लेकिन उसके बावजूद चांद की धरती पर पानी अथवा जल होने का प्रमाण चंद्रयान लेकर आए। और इस बार चंद्रयान उस जगह लैंड हो रहा है जहां के आज तक किसी भी देश का कोई इस तरह का रॉकेट या स्पेसशिप लैंड नहीं हुआ, यानी कि साउथ पोल, अधिकतर वो इक्वेटर के बाद। और वहां की परिस्थितियां भी भिन्न है। वहां पर यह भी संभावना कि छोटे छोटे पानी के क्रेटर हैं। मानव जीवन संभव है कि नहीं है, इस विषय को लेकर के जो सवाल पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी लोगों के ख्वाबो ख्याल में घूमते रहते हैं कि चांद कैसा होगा, वहां कैसे लोग बसते होंगे, बसते हैं कि नहीं बसते, जो हमारे एक जहनियत का, एक हमारी काल्पनिक दुनिया का एक प्रश्न रहता है, उसको वैज्ञानिक ढंग से कैसे संबोधित करना, उसका प्रश्न ढूंढना, उस प्रश्न का उत्तर ढूंढना, अटकलें लगाई जाती थी, लेकिन कोई निष्कर्ष नहीं था। और इसलिए ये मैं बात इसलिए कह रहा हूं कि चंद्रयान-3 के द्वारा को लेकर के भी कुछ एक प्रयोग वहां रहेंगे, जो स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी उनकी अलग से है कि पृथ्वी के वातावरण कैसा है, उसकी रचना कैसी है, आने वाले समय में उसमें क्या बदलाव आ सकता है, इत्यादि इत्यादि। और ये लैंडर तो जैसे आप सब जानते हैं कि 23 तारीख को धरती पर अपने पांव रखेगा और वहां फिर काम करना शुरू होगा। उसके इर्द नवाह भी वो कुछ एक प्रयोग, एक्सपेरिमेंट करेगा। लेकिन जो प्रपल्शन मॉड्यूल जो पीछे रह गया है, ये कई महीनों तक इसी प्रकार ब्रह्मांड में घूमता रहेगा और अन्य चित्र और अन्य जानकारी भी उपलब्ध करवाता रहेगा।
कल एक और लैंडिंग हुई, लैंडर मॉड्यूल अलावा ऑर्बिट 1 के नाम से जाना जाता है, जो कल 4 बजे लगभग उम्मीद है, उसके बारे में
वो नीचे ऑर्बिट में आएगा, लेकिन उसको हमारा जो अगला सबसे महत्वपूर्ण पड़ाव रहेगा वो रहेगा 23 तारीख का, जब लगभग 5:30 और 5:45 के बीच में हमारा ये विक्रम लैंडर वहां पर पहुंच जाएगा।
टॉप लीड जो कंट्रीज उनमें इंडिया शामिल हो जाएगा जैसे लैंडिंग।
वैसे तो मेरा तो ये व्यक्तिगत मानना है कि कम से कम अंतरिक्ष के क्षेत्र में हम प्रथम श्रेणी के देश तो बन ही चुके हैं, लेकिन अंतरिक्ष में भी कुछ एक ऐसे क्षेत्र हैं जिसमें हम दूसरे देशों की तुलना में थोड़ा आगे अपने आप को समझते हैं और हैं भी। और अगर ऐसा ना होता, और ये प्रमाणित ढंग से अब हमें देखने को आ रहा है, जब प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी की यात्रा रही अमेरिका में, तो अमेरिका की तरफ से पेशकश आई कि जो स्पेस हमारी लेबोरेटरी है, वहां पर लगभग 15-20 देश हैं जो उसकी मलकियत रखते हैं, उसकी हिस्सेदारी है। तो अमेरिका की तरफ से निमंत्रण आता है कि वो चाहेंगे कि भारत के वैज्ञानिक भी उनके साथ उस में जाएं आने वाले समय में। तो कहने का तात्पर्य ये कि भारत की क्षमता, भारत की सामर्थ्य पहली बार मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में, ये कहूंगा, विश्व के सामने आई, क्योंकि अंतरिक्ष को एक खुला माहौल, खुली फिजा देने का काम पिछले 3-4 सालों में हुआ है। प्राइवेट सेक्टर को भी खोल दिया गया, मीडिया के मित्र भी वहां आने लगे। अब ये कोई मामूली बात नहीं है कि पिछली बार पहले तो उसके फाटक के अंदर झांकना भी बना था। तो ये सारी बातें कुल मिलाकर के भारत की साख को भी बढ़ा रही हैं और अंतरिक्ष के माध्यम से भारत को एक अग्रणी दर्जा भी दे रही है।
इसरो का जिस तरह से प्रयास रहा है लगातार तीसरी बार इस तरह से, किस तरह से देखते हैं उसको?
मुझे लगता है कठोर परिश्रम। इसरो में एक अलग परंपरा है, वहां के वैज्ञानिक अगर सेवानिवृत्त हो जाते हैं तो अपने आप को सेवानिवृत्त नहीं समझते। एड वर्किंग सारे के सारे जितने भी वहां रहने वाले लोग हैं वो एक तरह से एक परिवार की तरह पूरे समर्पण के साथ काम करते हैं और इतना अधिक श्रद्धा के साथ काम करते हैं कि आज भी वो परंपरा मौजूद है। हर कामयाब लॉन्चिंग के बाद और हर कामयाब लैंडिंग का जो अनुसरणीय है।
Lander module has been separated successfully from the propulsion module. What is your view on that?
No, of course, every Indian will obviously feel proud about it, and so do all of us. But I think more importantly, from the scientific point of view, this is one unique mission which is not being only looked upon or looked up to by India, but by the entire world. Because the record of the Chandrayaan series so far has been that the inputs, the pictures, the inferences provided by Apple, and in spite of the fact that some of these nations have already reached the surface of Moon. America was the first to land on the surface of Moon in the year 1969 when Neil Armstrong landed there, had a stroll around. But it was our Chandrayaan later on which went there and picked up the pictures of water and awakened the world to the possibility of a human habitat being possible there directly or indirectly, which was, something which has been always conjuring up our imagination, which has been stirring our imagination generation after generation. They've been singing nursery rhymes on this, imagining how would Moon look, how would be the people living on Moon. But this has been a part of the mystique, part of the imaginary fiction. But here, Chandrayaan, for once, gave us a reason to find answers to these questions, which even the rest of the world did not have such kind of. So there is a lot much exclusiveness. And even this time, Chandrayaan mission, namely the South Pole area, which is said to have even craters of water, which is said to have more avenues of experimenting with.
Orbit 1 manual is scheduled for tomorrow evening.
Yes, it will get closer to the Earth's orbit, a few hundred kilometers away. Lander actually touches its feet on the surface of Moon around 5:36 in the evening.
Just as you see the efforts of ISRO, how do you explain?
No, I think first of all I would compliment and thank Prime Minister Modi. It's because of him. He threw open the gates of ISRO to all the stakeholders, to all the potential contributors, the private sector, the public sector. Even at the time of launching for the first time, we had about 1,000 media persons, whereas these premises had always been closed. Even a media person could not peep inside the gate. So that was one. The second, the teamwork of these ISRO functionaries, they work like a family. Nobody retires, nobody has a change of transfer. Whether they are superannuated, they are working or not, they always keep dedicating themselves like a single devoted family to the cause of the mission. And even today we have all the former chairpersons, all the former retired scientists coming together, and then so much of devotion attached to it that after every launching or after every landing there is there's a pilgrim visit to Tirupati of Thanksgiving, like that. So it's a huge lot of dedication to the ultimate extent.
Chandrayaan-3, after the July 14th launch from Sriharikota using LVM Mark 3 GSLV, it has done its own and acquiring the lunar orbit around the Moon and gradually reducing its orbits, and whatever the maneuvers as of now happened is to start with LVM-3 has put the orbit around the Earth. Then the propulsion module has taken the last 1 month all the way to the Moon, and now it has brought around the Moon 153 by 163 an orbit, near circular orbit around the Moon is concerned. And tomorrow I think you expect there will be a goodbye by the lander to the propulsion system, and it will take its own course of action. And then now it's going to be another milestone is the 4 big thrusters, 800 Newton thrusters, throttleable thrusters, which are in the lander, will get energized, and after few calibrations, then it has to go for the another deorbit maneuver. It will go down still further, go for then 100 by another maneuver 100 by 30 kilometer. So that way, I think 2 subsequent maneuvers also will happen with the new set of hardwares. All along, hardwares whatever has done is using the propulsion system. Then August 23rd morning, it will be given the final cue to go. And to make that, a good number of preparation maneuvers, calibrating the sensors, calibrating the various the gyros, accelerometers, then depending upon how the orbit has been oriented, accordingly on August 23rd when it go down from 30 kilometer, when it goes down, each point of time, how much amount of thrust it has to fire and what orientation it has to fire. So then from the rough braking to the going by the closed loop mode going. So that way, what sort of images expected on the en route, and this also will be uplinked there. So the full set of command sequences for the normal course of action, and to identify any non-nominal situation en route, and accordingly select for redundancy systems also will be uplinked to the onboard system with the proper verification from the ground. And after onboard uplink also, the whole command, I think they will verify whether everything is happened properly put on the system. So then, and the cue is given, so then automatically the onboard computer takes over and will do its function, and such that it goes and securely, softly lands, and the identified 4.5 meter by 2.4, 4.5 kilometer by 2.4 kilometer on the width area, it should be safely and securely, it should land on the moon. I think towards that all the sequences also will be in a place, and we expect everything goes fine. August 23rd will be definitely a day the whole India to rejoice and get back. Yes, India-made systems are landed at the moon, and subsequently a couple of hours later, every dust, other things settled, because when it's landing, we expected a good amount of dust from the lunar soil could have come out. So, but that once settles, using the camera sitting on the lander, picture will be taken, and outside is everything clean is shown. Then the one sides of the panel where the lander Pragyan is kept, that will be opened up, and then when it is in that it will come down. Because it itself will once again will separate from the lander, the Pragyan, so it will keep rolling down. While rolling down, it opens its panel also. So then it will take its own picture. Okay, this is a world of selfie. So Vikram will take a photo of the Pragyan. Pragyan will take the thing of that. So that way, we will have the initial steps of the Pragyan basically impressed on the lunar soil, our Indian emblem and ISRO's emblem being marked on that. Probably we'll be able to see in August 23rd evening or 24th morning. I think we have to keep waiting for that. Anyhow, 2 to 3 major milestones are there. Now every step is very, very crucial. Things have been tested, verified, simulated, and confidence level is good. But still, yes, we have to keep watching and hoping for the best.
Now we are very close to the moon, and step by step the whole plan will be executed. For now, from nearly 100 kilometer orbit, will come to 30 kilometer, and then start descending to the.
Sir, this time Chandrayaan-3 successfully landing for moon.
Yes, it will be surely. 100% it will be successful.
Almost Indian all people are waiting a celebration.
So Chandrayaan-3 landing is a very significant milestone for us, because in future we can identify a type of minerals, materials, and all the resources what the moon has got. We'll be able to know better, and probably we may like to excavate some of the material and bring it to to India for more analysis, getting more benefit. So we are more keen on the helium-3 part. which is going to be the energy source for us.
0 plus 5 seconds.
Lift off normal.
Here we have a majestic liftoff of LVM-3 M4 rocket carrying India's prestigious Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft.
P2 tracking.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का। यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है। इसे हम यहाँ महसूस कर सकते हैं और यही दहाड़ है जो वैज्ञानिकों को रोमांचित करती है। LVM-3 के
As the rocket is soaring through the clear skies, every second moving closer to the accomplishment of the most important milestone in its mission to moon. Every Indian witnessing the launch live is content with the feeling of watching history in the making.
चंद्रमा की सतह पर अपना छाप छोड़ने के लिए चंद्रयान-3 अपने मिशन को पूरा करने निकल चुका है। वर्तमान में दोनों S-200 स्टेप ऑन बूस्टर सामान निष्पादन करते हुए अपनी निर्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं।
The S-200 motors thrusting simultaneously, generating a peak thrust of close to 6,000 kilonewtons in vacuum. They are made of HTPB-based solid propellant. 204.5 tons in each strap-on. Close to 2 tons of propellant being burnt each second.
S-200 स्ट्रैप-ऑन बूस्टर्स का कुल प्रज्वलन काल 126 सेकंड का है और अभी घोषणा की गई L110 स्टेज का भी प्रज्वलन शुरू हो चुका है।
Apart from the strap-ons, the core stage has also commenced its operation. This stage, based on combination
200 stages are separated
of hypergolic Earth storable liquid propellants UH-25 and N2O4. Now the S-200s have been separated.
घटनाक्रम के अनुसार इस यान से S-200 स्ट्रैप-ऑन बूस्टर्स को सफलतापूर्वक पृथक कर दिया।
अभी इसरो का अनाउंसमेंट आया है कि अब तक जो है सो फार सो गुड वाली खबर है, यानी कि चंद्रयान-3 अपनी कक्षा में सही ढंग से एज प्रोग्राम्ड एज प्लान्ड जो है वो चल रहा है। ये बेहद जो है राहत की बात है कि एक किस्म से टेक्स्ट बुक लॉन्च हुआ और उसी हिसाब से जो है अब तक की जो है हम चलते चलते चंद्रमा की दहलीज तक जा पहुंचे हैं। यही ढंग से चलेगी क्योंकि उसके लिए जो है लैंडर रोवर पूरी तरह से जो है प्रोग्राम्ड हैं और वो काफ़ी ऑटोनोमस मोड में ही उनको चंद्रमा की सतह पर उतरना है।
रशिया का मून लैंडर क्रैश हुआ, इसके बारे में क्या कहें?
देखिए, ये एक काफ़ी दुखद समाचार है वो इस सेंस में कि दोनों स्वतंत्र मून मिशंस थे, साइंस मिशंस थे और दोनों ने लगभग एक ही प्रकार की फाइंडिंग्स को हासिल करना था। उनके अपने अपने हिसाब से यंत्र हैं, लेकिन चंद्रमा की सतह के बारे में, उसके भीतरी हिस्सों के बारे में, उसके वातावरण के बारे में, ताकि हम आपस में अपनी अपनी फाइंडिंग्स का मिलान कर सकते थे, लेकिन वो मिलान तब हो नहीं सकता है। ये दुखद समाचार है और ये चूंकि ऐसा कोई भी जो मिशन होता है उसके पीछे बरसों की मेहनत, वैज्ञानिकों का जो काम होता है, इंजीनियरों का काम होता है और बड़ी उम्मीद के साथ ये मिशन जो हैं अंतरिक्ष में भेजे जाते हैं। लेकिन एक टेक्निकल खराबी उनके कंप्यूटर में, Luna-25 के कंप्यूटर में आ गई और उसके बाद जो है उसने उस कमांड को नहीं फॉलो किया जो कि उसको प्री लैंडिंग ऑर्बिट में डालने के लिए की गई थी। Today I read about the landing schedule of Chandrayaan-3 as announced by ISRO, that on 23rd evening at 6:04, Chandrayaan-3 is going to land on the surface of the moon, which is a wonderful news because so far we want to see the landing to be a very successful event. So for that, lander is fully programmed and all its instruments are functioning well, and it is going to be in a autonomous mode at the time of descent to the surface of the moon.
Sir, one more thing, Russia's lunar lander crashed. What about it?
See, that's a very bad news. In fact, I feel very sad about it because I thought that, and like anybody and so many other scientists also would think this very similarly, that two independent probes for the moon were on a mission to explore very similar things. Our instruments are different, but the main idea was to get to study the surface of the moon and around it and the interiors of the moon. But that is not now going to happen. But so far now, Chandrayaan-3 has been doing very well, and let's hope that it lands safely and works successfully.
Deboosting or retrofiring is a process to enable the spacecraft to reduce its speed. You must realize it's coming at a tremendous speed, more than 6,000 kilometers per hour, and then it has got to reduce it to near zero, of course, not really 1 meter per second in vertical and 0.5 meters in this thing where it lands. So this is a process in which firstly you're trying to get the spacecraft into a circular orbit, and now it's almost circular. It's the perigee is just about 25 kilometers. So this is the second of the deboosting and orbit adjusting maneuvers. Finally, on 23rd, you will see that it will start coming down. I must tell you that one of the biggest things that are there is it has got to get the spacecraft from a horizontal position to a vertical position. Now that's also difficult. It's moving at tremendous speed. It's got to come down absolutely vertically, while now it's flying horizontally. So all these aspects have to be looked into, and I think it should make a good landing on 23rd.
How do you look at it?
Yes, I think it's a very, very unfortunate event that has happened. As it is, the Luna-25 got delayed due to the Ukraine war. Then the European Space Agency pulled out. They had an instrument on board. And finally, after about some 47 years, they had taken off Luna-25. Russia, erstwhile Soviet Union, are pioneers in space exploration. This is most unfortunate. Earlier, they had said that they would land on 23rd August. Then I think they speeded in one of the orbiting maneuvers. So it just goes to show that you can never ever take anything for granted in space exploration. Any of the smallest things, if it goes wrong, then it can lead to a disaster. I feel sorry for them, but because they have collaborated. Roscosmos has collaborated with ISRO, and it's a very unfortunate event.
6:30 बजे इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड टाइम है सर, कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, हाँ, ये जो डीबूस्टिंग मैनूवर्स है, रेट्रो फायरिंग से भी कहते हैं, वो है कि ये पूरे स्पेसक्राफ्ट को धीमा किया जा रहा है. वो बहुत तेज चल रहा है. वो धीरे धीरे दो कार्य हो रहा है. एक तो उसे एक सर्कुलर ऑर्बिट में लाने की कोशिश, और अभी वो सर्कुलर ऑर्बिट में था, अभी वो और इलिप्टिकल ऑर्बिट में आ गया है, जिसमें उसका पेरिजी जो है, यानी कि चंद्रमा से सबसे पास वाला वो इलिप्टिकल ऑर्बिट में, वो 25 किलोमीटर ही दूर है. और इसका मतलब ये है कि धीरे धीरे उसे चंद्रमा के और पास लाया जा रहा है कि वो हाई प्रिसिशन वो है ये बहुत ही हाई प्रिसिशन मैनूवर्स है, और अगर कुछ भी गलती हो गया फिर वो और गलती हो सकता है। तो मेरे ख्याल में ऐसा नहीं होगा, और 23rd को हम देखेंगे कि ये
कॉर्पोरेशन और रॉसकॉस्मोस को साइट करते हुए कि रशिया का लूना-25 स्पेसक्राफ्ट क्रैश हो गया है मून में।
जी हाँ, ये बहुत ही दुखद घटना है। उनका जो ये लूना-25 है, ये काफ़ी सालों बाद उनका लूना वो एक्सप्लोरेशन जा रहा था, कुछ 47 इयर्स में। ये पहले भी डिले हो चुका था। ये मेरे ख्याल में 2021 में जाने का था, अक्टूबर में। फिर यूरोपियन स्पेस एजेंसी का इसके अंदर एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट था, उन्होंने वो निकाल लिया क्योंकि यूक्रेन वॉर शुरू हो गया। फिर एक के बाद एक डिले हो गया, और अभी ये मेरे ख्याल में शनिवार से ये आउट ऑफ टच या कम्युनिकेशन में नहीं थे। उनके ऑर्बिटिंग मैनूवर्स में कुछ खामियां थी, और इसलिए वो बीच में ये भी जा रहा था, ये भी बात हो रही थी कि एक तरह की कंपटीशन है हमारे चंद्रयान और लूना में। ये सही बात नहीं है, वो पायनियर्स हैं। और फिर उन्होंने 21 अगस्त को इसे बढ़ा दिया लैंडिंग टाइम, और अभी ये एक मेरे ख्याल में रॉसकॉस्मोस के लिए दुखद की बात है। और दूसरी बात यह है, हाँ, हम साउथ पोल में पहला देश होंगे जो वहाँ पर लैंड करेंगे, लेकिन ये बात भी है कि रूस ने हमें पहले सहायता भी किया था, क्रायोजेनिक इंजन भी दिए थे। तो ख़राब तो लगता है, क्योंकि वहाँ के साइंटिस्ट भी काम करते हैं, बहुत काम करते हैं। सीखना है कि कुछ भी छोटा सा भी अगर खामी आ जाए स्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन में, ये एक बड़ा डिज़ास्टर हो सकता है, और यही हुआ है। तो हमें एकदम कोई भी चुनौती के सामना करने के लिए रेडी होना चाहिए, तैयार होना चाहिए।
And another is a retroreflector. Retroreflector is not basically for studying moon, per se, moon surface or something. It is for ranging between moon to... Actual payloads are three. One, the seismograph. Seismograph will measure any kind of, like in Earth, you have gravity, the perturbations. So these perturbations can be measured, like meteor is impacting. Moon surface is constantly getting impacted by meteors. So meteor impact it will be able to detect. Any lunar seismic activity it will be able to detect. In fact, it is so powerful, so sensitive payload into the lunar surface can be detected by that. To that extent, it is sensitive. When you come to the physics payloads, one is the REMPA LP. LP is Langmuir probe. Langmuir probe will measure what is the plasma density in the atmosphere, lunar atmosphere. Moon has a very thin surface. Its concentration may be 10 power 8 times lower than at the Earth, even more. But it has. And this LP is able to measure it. But only thing is it will not be in neutral, it will be in ionized form, because solar extreme ultraviolet radiations are directly coming there. So these will be ionized, and lunar atmosphere we say can be measured. Plasmaspheric density and characteristics, concentration, temperature, energy associated, those things can be determined from Langmuir probe. There is the other payload is Chaste. It is for studying the lunar surface. There is something called a regolith, that is the top surface of the top layer of the lunar surface. That is thermally non-conductive, very, very non-conductive. So its top surface can come to say of the order of 30 degrees centigrade, but a few centimeter down it may be of the order of minus 50, minus 100. This is what the calculations show, but nobody measured this. So we are going to measure it for the first time. Our regolith, we will penetrate up to around 10 centimeter for probing. Actually 14 centimeter including the tip. The tip will be actually aiding us to penetrate. So 10 centimeter of the lunar surface will be probed, temperature will be measured, and basically it will give you the conductivity of the lunar regolith. This is very important for future applications, because this regolith can be a building block for future space bases, lunar bases. So this property we need to study very well. So that's why we are taking this measurements.
So
This is the first time that lunar regolith is measured. Apollo mission measured the temperature of the lunar interior, actually with a drilling thing. You know, once you drill it, the property changes. So you can still have it, but then they went to much deeper depth, not high profiling. They just look at the surface. That can be from any kind of measurement, including major measurements. But then they went deeper to 1 meter kind of thing. Not the total lunar regolith, they did not focus on that. Because they couldn't also, because they were going for drilling, and drilling will not give you any measurement of this. This chassis is designed in such a way that it will not perturb the lunar regolith at all. It will slowly penetrate, very slowly. But even that can be detected by the seismograph. That is the sensitivity of the instruments. And these are also aided by our past missions. You know, Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2 studies based on that is substantially aiding us in doing this. For example, Chandrayaan-2 had an orbiter and a lander. Lander, of course, it was not successful. But orbiter is still orbiting, and we are getting data. And the payloads there is 100% successful. For example, one payload from our thing, it is called DFRS. It profiled the lunar exospheric plasma density. Actually, not only at the surface, it even profiled. And there were discovery class results, because what the main finding is, we expect that the lunar sunlit side will have maximum density, obviously, because it can be maximum ionization. Whereas what is happening is not at the sunlit side, not sunlit side, noon side, but then in the twilight condition, evening, morning. That sector get more electron density than the other one. Of course, there is a dynamics involved in that. We could model that also. We developed a model by which we could reproduce the observed results. And another very important thing with Chandrayaan-2 did is, in the orbiter we had a composition measurement. It's called a chase. It measured the lunar atmosphere at 100 kilometers, like a layer. You know, you could map the whole region, whole of lunar surface for different seasons and different longitudes, different latitudes. So it gives you something like a shell kind of a property. Property of atmosphere in a shell at 100 kilometer height. Composition. We measured argon, water, carbon dioxide, neon, so many species. And Chandrayaan-1, and then there was, beg your pardon, Chandrayaan-2 had one more major thing, is it provided the high resolution imagery of the surface. Very high resolution. It was unprecedented up to that time. So those imageries are going to be used for Chandrayaan-3 to identify where exactly we should land for safe landing, because there are boulders. So these boulders avoiding and all those things. Chandrayaan-2 high resolution camera, orbiting high resolution camera is aiding us in doing that. Chandrayaan-1 before that was actually making discovery class results, which has enhanced the interest of several world nations now. Because you see, after around maybe some 1976, now only people are going to the landing missions, recently only. One of the main thing is the discovery of water in moon's surface and atmosphere. Moon's atmosphere also had water. Very thinnest atmosphere. Our laboratory, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, was actually in the moon, moon impact probe. So it deorbited and it was impacting the surface. While impacting the surface, it measured measurements, during the 20-minute flight. So you could get an altitude profile of water and other species. That discovered water in the atmosphere for the first time. Atmosphere. At the surface, it was discovered by, again, a payload in Chandrayaan-1. It was actually US payload, because in Chandrayaan-1, 50% of the payloads were Indian and 50% were from foreign. So MQ, Moon Mineralogy Mapper. It mapped the total lunar surface for water content. And it was found that, in the there are regions where water content is more, and which could be mapped. And now in the South Pole or the polar region, let us talk about the polar region, the temperature is relatively lower. The result is you will not have much evaporation. If temperature is higher, like in the equatorial region, temperature can be very high in the daytime. It can be of the order of even 50 degrees centigrade or even more. So it will get evaporated. Whereas in the lunar polar region, it is not the case. Temperature is always lower. So water will not get evaporated. What is more is there are permanently shadow regions due to the meteoric heat, and there is a crater. The crater, some of the craters will not have solar radiation reaching. Never solar radiation has reached. Some of the craters are of that type. Means whatever water is there, it is preserved because its temperature is sub-zero. So it cannot evaporate. So this kind of discovery class results from Chandrayaan-1 has renewed the interest in the moon, especially in the South Pole. Now, you see, after that mission, several missions are now Russia was planning, India is planning, and there are other Japanese also are planning. So there are several missions which are triggered by Chandrayaan-1. So discovery class results came from that. We expect we will be able to do very similar results, bring out similar results from Chandrayaan-3 too.
So after the landing, what are the results you are going to take, or what are the...
One is about the property of the lunar regolith. As I told you, lunar regolith is a fluffy surface at the top of the moon, which is impacted constantly by the solar wind, by the meteors. So its property is completely different from what you will be seeing in the interior. So this full moon is covered with that. So the property of the lunar regolith is primary. The composition also comes from the lunar surface, which will also have contribution from lunar regolith. What I am telling is the rover had composition measurements of the surface. The Chaste will measure temperature profile and conductivity. Actually, it has one more heater. Actually, in addition to thermal sensors, there is a heater. It will heat the surface. Surface means interior. And then it will detect how much is the temperature decay. That will give us what is the information about the thermal conductivity of the lunar soil. So basically, the thing which we are going to do is, for the first time, we are going to have the surface regolith profiling. This is the first time, nobody has done regolith profiling. Composition is another, which of course there were other measurements also, both remote sensing and in situ. But then the kind of measurements that we are going to do is again, it is of top class work in the lunar surface. And the plasma environment, which is rarely done. And in the polar region, nobody has done. In the polar region, nobody has done in situ measurements of the surface at all because there was no lander. Of course, spaceborne, we don't know how much is the quantity of water. We know the presence of water is abundant. Abundant in the sense, much more than what we expected. It may be much smaller than what you see in a desert, but it is more than what we expected. But then the quantification of those things were not made. That required lander. So that is the kind of thing which we are going to look at immediately after the landing during the 14th day. What is more important is, now we are going to land in the beginning, you know, the sunrise. Now sun will rise, it will go to noon and it will set. What is the temperature? You can see here also, you can see there's a strong temperature variation that you get here in the surface. You cannot walk through the deserts because you're, it'll be very hot. Whereas during the night, that is not the case. Or during the morning, that is not the case. Very similar thing happens there. But then, what is the kind of profiling that will happen interior? Surface, yes, of course, we can detect it even with a thermal imager, top surface. But what about the interiors that were never known? And what is the kind of profiling during the course of the day is what we are going to do. I mean, profile with the time. So it will be two dimension. It will be one dimension is depth, the other dimension is time. This is what we are going to do.
Sir, now you are telling about this scientific methods.
Right.
After the Chandrayaan landing, what would be the changes in India's space missions, or the status of India in this space?
This is a very good question. But you see, there are scientifically the missions, observations will continue, science will continue. But what is the kind of mission that ISRO will be taking up has to be decided based on the priorities of the government, as well as the capability that what we have and the scientific interest. So I will not be able to tell you exactly what will be the follow-up missions straight away. But obviously, you can expect that, science never stops. So that way, there will be a continuity in terms of scientific studies and in terms of observations. But I will not be able to tell you about the exact missions, what we plan and what is the timeline and all those things, because that is, it has to be decided by the government's permission, government's approval.